Hello my friends, let's talk about Bojack Horseman. I recently binge-watched through all 4 seasons of Bojack Horseman throughout the month of October. Other than the occasional t-shirt on the street or a YouTuber saying the show was good, I hadn't been exposed to anything of the show or what it was about, and it is definitely a show that is hard to explain. Bojack Horseman is a very honest show that, in a real and respectful way, has created a dark comedy about living with depression. Now, I am not a psychologist. I am in no way qualified to discuss depression, even though I have experienced it myself during certain years in my life. And I have friends that still struggle with depression today. So I want to emphasize that Bojack Horseman has some serious subject matter that only qualified people can do justice to. I am not that person. However, there is an aspect of the show that falls cleanly on the stage of philosophy. The idea of friendship and what it means to live authentically. I fell in love with Bojack Horseman, the character, at the very first episode. It was right after dealing with a crappy situation at work where a coworker who had never had a conversation with me before decided that I was too pretentious for my own good and that I needed to be taken down a peg so that they could take the role of benevolent stranger and tell me how I'm supposed to improve myself. I am sure that everyone has dealt with people like this in their life, but I feel like an abnormal number have found themselves also being backed up by authority figures when they find me. Now, I won't mince words. I'm an intimidating person. I'm 6 feet tall, dark skin, I'm fairly muscular, I know how to fight, I graduated with a magna cum laude, first of my family to do so. I'm a smart cookie. I know my virtues and what I'm good at. And listening to me say all that, I'm sure many of you are disgusted at me singing my own praises just now. You may have even unsubscribed from the channel because of how audacitous it was for me to sing my own praises at all. But I know where I'm lacking too. I'm quick to anger, I constantly overthink and spiral myself down into a ball of dysfunctional stress. I'm horrible at reading social emotional cues of others. I can't read sarcasm and I take people in earnest. So every single time someone found some fault in me, I took it in earnest and obsessed over how to fix that thing about myself. So I've developed an Adonis complex that sometimes, honestly, makes it hard to look in the mirror. I refuse to forgive myself until I've fixed myself. I have a self-destructive perfectionism that only worsens as the people close to me, who do genuinely want me to improve in the right way, misread the situations that I encounter and end up legitimizing strangers' claims on my deficiencies. So how about that rant? Now that I've exposed my greatest self-criticisms and self-hatred, what do you feel? Do you feel pity? Sympathy? Or are you glad to know that I'm human, that I suffer the same way that you do, that even though I'm on this side of the internet and you're on that side, we're still the same as each other? Well, for my week of self-loathing in October, a friend linked me to a very helpful playlist of self-help videos on YouTube. I watched that playlist, and then I watched the first episode of Bojack Horseman, and I saw the very first angry rant that Bojack soliloquies, and in it I saw myself. But Bojack was doing something I'd never seen before. He was exposing himself, confidently and forcefully, all of his weaknesses and deficiencies in a tone that didn't appear to try eliciting pity. It was honest, pure, and vulnerable, and I loved Bojack for it. I didn't like him as a person, but I loved him as a human. I felt friendship with him immediately. But is that really what friendship is? The ancient Greek philosophers were infinitely interested in the idea of true love and what kinds of love existed. The culture, too, was fairly obsessed, having something like 4 different words for love between specific kinds of lovers. In Plato's Symposium, a few different loves between friends became the dialogue's main topic. The first kind of friendship they discussed, after they let Aristophanes give a drunken rant about circle people, were friends of utility. If you need a suit tailored, you maintain a friendly interaction with your tailor. That way he gives you good work, you give him good coin, and everyone prospers. This friendly relationship is maintained because both parties are useful to each other. Then there are friends of pleasure. This is the person you call when you need to escape for a night, maybe to a club or a concert, maybe video games or movies for a night in. But you're not going to talk about your struggles. This person is about you and them turning the brain off and having fun. These are your good vibes only friends. Then there are friends of virtue. As you can imagine, this is the kind of friendship that ancient Greek philosophers thought was the best. Truly virtuous people who can recognize true virtues in others and love each other not for their usefulness or pleasure, but for the very same things that make them virtuous. And that makes a lot of sense, right? We should like and be attracted to good things. Being able to discern good and bad and then choosing the good is what allows a species to survive in this world and eventually thrive in it. And yet, when people try to do this, it ends up feeling unnatural, overly saccharine, and inauthentic. These are the Mr. Peanut Butters of the world. People who give off so much positivity that it appears they are hiding something. People who are more concerned about who is in a movie rather than what makes a quality story. People who pantomime shock and disbelief when you haven't attached your own experience to that popular movie or actor or band that everyone knows. People who never talk about why something is beautiful, important, and good, but only arbitrarily measure life by popularity or profit. People who always try to talk about successes, about friendship, and yet it always comes off as just shy of feeling real. The friends of virtue just don't feel like friends. The ancient Greek philosophers had one more kind of friendship that they ridiculed and didn't even count as a kind of love. Friends of vice. People whose relationships are based in sharing their sorrow and suffering. These people who try to bring sorrow and sadness to others, whose misery loves company, surely they do nothing more than harm others with their own pain. Well, Bojack Horseman and modern emotional psychology disagree. See, we all go through life with suffering and self-loathing. We all want the people around us to find value in us, to like us, to love us. So we do everything we can to appear valuable, to appear likable, to appear lovable. So we exclaim our virtues, we connect ourselves to what we know others found valuable and likable. As a result, we all present this strong, idealized version to each other, and we hide our vices. We see each other's virtues lined up against our own vices, and we loathe ourselves. We become prideful and try to prove that others have flaws, just like we do. We try to take them down a peg, and we fight against them. So when someone unexpectedly, finally, makes themselves vulnerable to us, exposes their suffering and vice to us, finally, we think, someone who suffers like I do. We see ourselves and we love them. And on this foundation, we learn to love that person's virtues. We fight for them. On this topic, the ancient Greeks were completely wrong. Friendship and love starts at vulnerability, at vice. We, like Bojack Horseman, would be well served by being honest and direct about what harms us, not to elicit pity, not as a weapon against others, but as a rope that binds us together and reminds our fellow humans that we are the same. That's why Bojack Horseman presents us with the authentic life. To be honest, direct, and confident in both our virtues and our vices. To be real, whole people, and not just the likable image. Thank you for watching, my friends. If you haven't seen Bojack Horseman, you should definitely check it out. And since I mentioned it, I have recreated the playlist that my friend made for me and put the link in the description. If you find that you struggle having authentic conversation with people like I do, I suggest spending a quick moment watching that playlist, then binge watching Bojack Horseman. It will help you appreciate what the show accomplishes. If you enjoyed this episode and weren't off-put by my emotionality, remember to subscribe for more and share the video with your friends. I don't pay anyone to promote the channel, so the only way we can grow is with your help. Thank you again, and as always, stay true.